So, I'm Brandon with Whiskey River.
I'm Rooster with Council Tool.
And this is my father.
It's my dad. It's my son.
And yeah, he's up visiting. It's not often that we are in the same room together because we live 12 hours.
A couple states away.
Yeah, a couple states away. So up for the holiday, up in Wisconsin for the holiday he is. So he stayed here and we figured we might as well go live.
Sure.
Hang out, talk tools.
Yep.
And then, you know, take Q&A at the end and just hang out. So it's Tuesday night. We're just in the warehouse.
Excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming. We've been making firewood a little bit here and there, mainly sorting firewood actually. We've been doing a lot of firewood sorting. So, that's something that you're doing at your new property.
Yep. We got a few acres that they haven't been managed in probably 25 years. So there's a lot of standing dead, a lot of stuff that's on the ground. And I'm trying to clean all that up and process it into firewood I can. And splitting it all by hand. I got a couple ravines in my property that are hard to get across with vehicles, so I'm running a high line to kind of make it easier to get that wood back to the house. It's not conventional, but it's rather just letting it just rot on the ground.
Yeah.
So
yeah, is that mainly oak? You're in Missouri.
Yep.
Central Missouri.
Yep. I do a lot of white oak, bur oak, and I've got a bunch of locusts that I'm trying to take down that are basically just they're monopolizing the canopy in that area, and I want some of the red and white oaks to be able to grow. So I'm going to be taking a lot of those out and making that in firewood.
Is the locust the same that we have with the thorns and such when it's young?
Yep. That's tough. Yeah. And they send out shoots, so you
Yeah,
back up and you don't know it's there, and now it's grabbed you. And
yeah, we've been fighting black locust since moving into this place. The black locust that we've got was a decorative tree that was planted at the front of the property on our northmost driveway, and then it just sent shoots, you know, because it's technically the same organism through its root system, and so it spread all over the front half of our property, and it's just been crazy. The DNR is like, yeah, you have to pay us to come out and kill it with this chemical. It's like, unless you excavate it all off and up and haul it out, it's really hard to kill it.
Right. I've got a small patch, probably a eighth of an acre. I'm just going to focus on without getting chemicals involved because the watershed, because it's ravines, it feeds a small creek and stream on my neighbor's property, and there's a lot of deer and wildlife that drink out of that. So I don't want to be throwing all that stuff and then have it run off. So.
And it's kind of how ours is with just like that black locust is where the log pile is right now. So it's like it would just wash down into that pine plantation, the neighbor's pine plantation. So we're not.
So we'll just use a manual, get in there with axes and.
Yeah, I mean, if you keep cutting it every year, it's like it's not gonna. Eventually, it's gonna die.
Right.
Eventually, it's not gonna have anything to go off of, or at least size down. So, but yeah, black locust is just terrible for walking through, or your animals like dogs or whatever walking through. They kind of used it as a natural hedge line at one point for a fence line. I mean, to keep livestock in and all that. But now it's pretty obsolete and annoying. So, are you burning black locust?
Yeah, I just started this year. We got the cook stove hooked up that we brought down from Wisconsin. So I just got that hooked up, and I ran black locust second half of the first fire in there, and did really well. A lot of that, like I said, has been dead for a while, and a lot of it's been hung up, so it's been kind of seasoning, but it's still holding moisture. So last winter in spring is when I cut most of that, split it up, and then I'm starting to burn it.
Yeah, sweet.
So I'm already cutting for next year. I always cut like a year ahead, whereas you can cut. I mean, it could be still alive.
Yeah, for the
and
boiler.
not know it's dead and be thrown in the boiler. But for me, with an in-house, I want to try and keep everything at least a year seasoned. Yeah. And I split to, 4 just under 5, just so I can try and get as much moisture out as I can.
Yeah.
So
we have not been able to get ahead, but I think that this next year, that red oak that we stacked, since it'll be in the shop all winter, this winter, it should help it dry out longer. And then next year we'll be moving it outside into the sun, and I think it'll be good. I put a fan on it in the shop too, and it's shocking how fast it end checks and it starts drying out. So I've got dreams of building a kiln. I don't know if you saw the video we did with Phil in Phil's firewood yard down in Clear Lake. I mentioned him earlier in a conversation today, but he basically bought a refrigerator box truck, like a 24-foot box truck, and then he framed a wall, basically the first 6 feet, and then that's where the conventional wood furnace would be, and then just ductwork going in, and he does a really good job at doing that. So
Lily's Farm and Firewood sent $5.
hey, look at this. I got your shirt on, Matt. The hoodie's super filthy. I got it completely it just smells terrible, so I had to I couldn't wear that today, but
$5, I'm not gonna take my shirt off. Sorry. make it 20 and we'll talk about it.
Thanks for tuning in, Matt. But yeah, anyway, Phil's got a this thing, and I joked around with him that we should make one that's like still attached to a truck, so you can just like dry firewood, like park it there for a week, you know.
Drive it in the woods.
Yeah, drive it wherever. But you know, if you've got friends that want to do, I think his is able to do 8 totes. It goes in totes to do it. It's either 8 or 10, so it's a significant amount.
Does that allow him to then sell out of state?
Yeah, that allows. That's a USDA certified. Yeah.
Because you're killing the bugs, as well as trying to get the moisture down.
Yeah, I don't know the specifics. He's like a nerd about the specifics, but yeah, it's like it obviously helps with moisture levels, but it also helps with being able to ship it. I can't remember if his is USDA certified or if it's just state DNR, but basically he's allowed to ship in any county in Wisconsin. And he's also, the biggest thing is state and national parks.
Right.
You can bring that wood in if it's certified. You know, like obviously there's probably not people policing the wood, but you know, it's just a really good idea to try not to bring invasive species into a national park or national forest, and we've got a lot of public land here. So.
Especially if they're going to limit the circumference of the area that you can bring in to that park.
Yeah.
You know, it's only got like a 20-mile radius or something.
Yeah.
Can't be too many firewood suppliers that are that close that are going to be able to keep up.
So his market, a lot of his market is Minneapolis because he's in Clear Lake. So, and that allows him to be able to ship over to Minnesota and all that. So, and I think that there's just people that see value in kiln dried wood. It's not like everybody cares about kiln dried wood, but I feel like it's something that like the people who want kiln dried are gonna search out kiln dried, and they'll pay an extra, 10 to 20% more. Yeah, it's like it's guaranteed.
I mean, there's some, I don't know if it's mostly men or women, but if there's a bunch of carpenter ants and they didn't know it, and then end up they crawl out when it's warm. There's some women that are like, oh my god.
Yeah. Well, yeah, my girlfriend hates it when spiders are in the firewood. So like ants coming out of it's not a good thing. But I think but there's like a last minute. Some people just don't have the ability to store massive amounts of wood, and then have their current year as well as the next year in storage. So some people are kind of forced to have to buy wood that's ready to burn because they only have like one section of their garage they can fit one cord in and all that. So the kiln dried has value, and I would like to build I'd like to build a kiln, so I'm gonna be keeping my eyes open for a refrigerated box truck, box/truck.
Sure.
It doesn't have to be huge. I'm not like trying to get into certifying and all that. But
could you just do a regular Conex shipping container?
The value in that was that it's insulated. The refrigerated ones are insulated, so it retains heat better. I know that they make the retrofit kits to take a Conex box, and it looks like a reefer unit on the front of a semi that bolts to it, and then that is but that's like $20,000 for that. So this is like the backwoods way of doing it. It's just buy a truck with a blown up trans or blown rear end or something and ship it in, and you can find these wood furnaces online on Marketplace for a few $100s that are people don't want to use in their house, but it's completely fine for that. So that's kind of the plan.
So when it comes to firewood, are you following the trend that firewood has with fuel oil prices and such like that? I mean, you see how, like with the economy being as bad it has been for a while, and fuel prices being high, that people do have the ability to burn wood will then opt to do burn wood to offset some of that fuel costs.
I mean, I read a lot of the conversations. I know that there's, and mentioning Phil again, I've witnessed some sort of number that at one point, I don't know if he did the math or if someone did the math and told him, but there's like a number. We only have the ability to heat off propane at the house.
Right.
So it's like the only fuel that we're comparing against, well, besides electric, would be the propane. And there's a price of the propane that if you're above that price, it's worth buying wood at your, $3 to $3.30 or $3.60, I guess, is a cord around here, full cord. That price makes sense. I think it's $1.50 a gallon for propane right now. I just filled their tank,
which isn't too high.
No, I just
for
filled
winter
their
prices even.
And fuel propane's down, but that's typical in an election year where we get low rates in that. But I just filled the 500-gallon tank that we use as like a reserve or backup, and that was $1.19 a gallon, so it's pretty low. And then 2 years ago, I filled it at 109, but we were up to 229 last winter. So, once it's up to 229, it's like, wow, this is like $900 to fill up my tank. So.
And how many times do you think you'd go through the propane 500 gallons? How many?
Yeah. So when before we moved here, but we owned the house and we were heating it. We were heating it off of an older propane unit. Now we have high efficiency or whatever, but that older propane unit, to keep the house at 55 while we were gone, and then 65 while we were there, we went through 7 fill-ups, and they do 400-gallon drops. So that's 2,800 gallons. Now,
Out of the Woods donated $5, and he asked, "Where can I buy one of those hats?"
you don't have to buy it. We'll figure it
out.
out.
I'll take care of you, but only him. I'm not doing everybody that
Special
chimes
offer.
in.
Yeah.
But we both know Nathan. So.
Yeah, Nathan's a great guy, and if you don't follow him, you should follow him. So when you start doing the math on 400 gallons times 7, there was leftover in the tank. So let's just say 4 times 7, 2,800 gallons. Let's just say 2,500. At $2 a gallon, that's $5,000 for me to heat my shop. I can buy a lot of firewood, not even make it myself. I can buy a lot of made, dried, seasoned firewood for $5,000. So I think a lot of people people that I converse with in the comment section and stuff, they have a pretty skewed idea of how much it actually takes in fuel to heat an older home in this climate.
Right.
So, if you're down in Alabama, definitely gets cold and definitely gets, you get into the single digits and stuff. But up here, it's like we can have 4 to 6 weeks that we go by that rarely gets above 0 as a high. So those cold snaps, just everything's maxed out. You got any system that you have is cranked, and the grid is cranked out because everybody's heating with their space heaters, and so that's when you get into that. But my my power company buddy here, who's the linesman, still swears that that electric heat here is the cheapest per BTU, but I have not done the math. I'll trust him on it, but I'm not interested in having electric heat in my whole house. But a lot of people do.
That's what we have.
Yeah, a lot of people do.
Now, granted, I don't see the winters like you do, but when we had that Texas snap, that cold snap that took out Texas, we were sub-0 for 2.5 weeks, and that house isn't built. And that was built in '81, and that house wasn't built for that. Now we have a electric heat pump in the attic that then has a forced air, but the attic isn't heated. So now it's cold in the attic. It's 0 or colder, 10 below, and now it's trying to heat the rest of the house. It couldn't keep up.
Wow.
And so I'm glad I did have the fireplace, I guess, but I went through so much with an open hearth fireplace and the blower system. So now having the cook stove in the basement, I think I'm going to be a lot more efficient that way. Because I was going through, 3 cords in winter, and I should only be going through maybe like 1.5 or 1.
Yeah.
During the cold areas.
Yeah.
But I'd love to be able to get to the point where the thermostat never kicks on, that heat pump never turns on in the winter.
Yeah. Oh, I get really frustrated when when I can hear the propane boiler click on. It's usually like, it's a motivator to get up and put wood in the stove at 4 in the morning when you hear that. We've got this section in the wall where the pipes run up into the second story of the house, and just like a boxed in, in drywall or whatever, and you can hear the pipes creak inside that wall, and I'm always like, oh man, the propane turned on.
Right.
So,
Right.
And on those super cold nights, it's just how it is. So, yeah.
Now, granted, I don't have to do the wood. Like financially, it's not.
Yeah.
I can do it either way.
And you're not in an area that needs wood heat or heat all year. Yeah.
Right. So for me, it's more of a, I want to do it because I can, and since I got the wood, I don't want the wood to go to waste.
Yeah.
And my wife and I both like dry wood heat.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and it's just got an ambiance to it. You know, sit around the fire and read a book or whatever.
Sure.
The redundancy in heat is what I'm chasing. I'm not necessarily chasing, I got called out in some comments the other day about me being a prepper and me being like, super, end of the world or whatever. And it's like, guys, it's free heat, right? Hashtag free heat. And it's like freedom with that, right? So you have freedom to basically be free of the propane company.
Or for me, the electric company.
Or the electric company.
Which they jump their rates.
Yeah. And they can change their rates. The electric company's locked on rates. They can't spike their rates more than a certain percentage. But propane can double, triple, quadruple in the matter of like a week. Natural disaster happens or some sort of shortage. We saw that in 14, in Wisconsin. And that was a state of emergency. Like the governor made a state of emergency. It was this big deal, So I wanted to be free of being tied to that because I can't imagine if my rates jumped. I don't know what it was a gallon.
How do you budget? How do you budget for it?
Yeah, you can't. And if I'm going to be using 2,000 gallons of propane a winter, it's like if we jump up just 4%. I mean, this could be like, or not 4%, 2 times. Let's just say 2 times. It's like it goes from 5,000 to 10,000. It's like I don't have a spare 5,000 to just throw at it, but I do have a back and some arms that can move some firewood around.
Chainsaw, some awesome.
I can buy a lot of wood for that. So, yeah.
Well, the reason I bring that up is that, the oil embargoes in the 80s, you saw a lot of people buy and convert their homes or build new homes with wood fireplaces or wood stoves and such, and that was a big deal because you couldn't get the fuel because of the embargoes, and then that just caused the economy just to go terrible, and everything costed so much.
Yeah.
Interest rates went crazy.
Four-cylinder Mustangs.
Right, and so that it's kind of like we learned from history, and I mean, my house was built in '81. The same idea. They built that house with that fireplace, knowing that they don't know when the economy is going to get better and when the fuel is going to come down.
Yeah.
So they threw a couple thousand into that fireplace when they built the house, and they've been burning every year since then.
Yeah.
Like that fireplace has always seen a fire every winter in that house since '81.
Yeah. So it's just redundancy, and making sure you've got freedom from the actual, the market, the market. It's like, so my plan is to have 30 cords seasoned stacked because we go through between 3 and 4 cords a year inside the house in order to offset that propane in this wood stove. Hopefully we use less in this new wood stove. So
Glowing Firewood 50 wants to know if you do sticker trades.
no, I do not. But only because I used to, and they became a big headache. So sticker trade's not something that I do anymore.
We do appreciate the sport, though.
We do have stickers, and we throw stickers into orders when we have them in stock. Any order on the website gets a free sticker thrown in it when we have them on hand. So Yeah, sticker trade is just not something that I do. I get asked that a lot, but yep. So so I want to stack 30 cords. It's kind of like an insurance policy for me, but also an insurance policy for my friends. Oak is completely fine to be stacked for,
right. Especially if it's white oak.
Yeah.
Especially if it's white oak. If red is if it's undercover, great. But if it's not undercover, I go more white because white's more rot resistant than red is.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we just don't have white oak here.
Right.
So it's just red oak. As far as we have to travel, and there's an outlier every once in a while. You see a white oak tree, but most of the time the white oaks are. You got to travel. Do you have any white oaks on your property? White oak trees?
No clue.
Yeah, no clue. It's just rare here. It's sand country, and they just don't like growing in the soil and stuff. So.
Well, even with those billboard tarps, you can cover an awful big pile, even if you doubled them. So, for a couple $100, you can get red oak to last 15 years.
Yeah, definitely.
Glowing Firewood 50 wants to know how much is that hat? How much he wants to get one.
Oh, we don't sell these, but we do have Flying Fox. This one? No, not that one. I think we've got Flying Fox hats. We got Council Tool Fire, Council Fire, and Flying Fox, I believe, on the website right now. Yeah, so this is a Flying Fox hat right here. It's got a. There you go. It's got a logo on it. That's Council Tool one, and then we got a Council Tool Fire one. These hats are Council Tool, sent these to their retailers and such. So, and here's the Council Fire. It's for their fire line.
Yeah, these hats that Brandon and I are wearing are actually ones that we take to shows, and then we, if we meet up with a dealer or we've got a big fan of our products, we buy a bunch of stuff at the show, we'll throw in a hat. So these are kind of that's why I gave them you because you're a dealer.
Yeah, internal to the dealers.
Yeah, so it's just kind of like an extra special thing. So.
Yeah, we've got Whiskey River hats coming. In the next month we'll probably have some more in. I just found a new hat retailer, hat supplier that I'll be going through. I'm thinking so.
We do lids.com. He does a lot of fire stuff. So we met him at the FDIC.
Yeah.
I think this was $12 stitch. It's a Richardson 112.
Yeah, turkey cap.
So that's not bad.
No. Yeah, they were getting wild there during COVID. It was like $25 for a hat stitched, and it's like, come on. But shortages and all that. I have a bunch of friends up here now that we, since we live in this area, we have a lot of people that burn wood, and I'd like to just have a store to kind of cover them if they need to be fronted some wood. It's a trade currency too. That's another thing that's like the Firewood Equals Freedom thing. It's like, how do we store our cash in 2024? How do we store our money and have value? It's like here, not everywhere in the country does seasoned oak have value. Maybe, but here specifically, it's like if I have 30 cords of seasoned oak, that's a significant amount of money. That's 10 grand that all I have to do is make it, split it, and make the content around it and have it on hand, so that way if I ever I need to put a transmission in the truck or need to buy something for the house or whatever, I have the ability.
Or even do a swap.
Yeah, or do a swap.
Somebody's got a piece of equipment you want to rent.
Yep.
Or borrow, and he's looking for firewood. That's an easy.
Yeah.
Keep the government out of it.
We just had a F-150 that we traded for firewood.
Oh, right.
And when I went to the DMV and registered it, he's like, "How much you pay for it?" I was like, "Well, I traded it for firewood." And he's like, "Sure you did." And I was like,
Actually,
I did." So, and then I had to write down the value of the firewood, So, but yeah, just 2 cords of firewood got me a running, driving F-150. I drove it home, poorly running, but that's the stickler truck. That's the F-150 that you guys are seeing in the YouTube channel and all that. That will be evolving into whatever it evolves into.
Right.
So, yeah. So I just feel like that kind of stuff is important to be able to have on hand, and it makes me feel more comfortable burning more wood.
Right.
I'm throwing a lot of wood in the stove. It's like, it feels better when I've got just a massive pile outside versus when I'm like, oh gosh, I only have what I have inside the garage. So,
right. Yeah, for me too. It's we're we're in like an ice belt. So up north it's snow. We're in an ice belt where just everything freezes. Well, it also then takes down trees, and trees take down lines, and there's always power outages. Like we've lost power probably 5 times, and we only lived there 4 years.
Yeah.
And normally it's only like 1 day, but once we had a 3-dayer, and it's cold.
Yeah.
Still cold, and so by having that kind of firewood, ready to go.
Yeah.
Now, granted, like the cold snap that we got a couple years ago when Texas got hit, and all the grid went down there, we actually got some of that in Missouri, and people were losing their minds.
Yeah, definitely.
I
mean, if your house isn't set up for it, it's like, that's not a good. I mean, your house could definitely freeze out in 3 days.
Yeah.
If you're like,
if that's that cold.
Yeah, mobile home or my house, and my house in single digit temps does not have the insulation value to be able to keep it warm, pipes from freezing. So let's switch over to Council Tool Talk.
Okay.
What's the latest product that we've released with you guys?
I think it's the
old number 7.
Old number 7. Yeah.
Which is this splitting maul, which is called the old number 7. He designed it, and it's a monster for splitting wood. You can see it's got this very thick profile here. A traditional maul is kind of just like, it leads a lot for imagination. And it's not necessarily sharp, but man, it doesn't need to be. It just busts wood apart.
Sure. So a couple things when we redesigned this, or actually this is a new design. So we used to have an 8-pound, and it was, it did well. It was a copy of a copy of a copy. And with my engineer, Daniel, shout out to Daniel out there.
Daniel's the man.
We have the ability to then save the file in SolidWorks for the drawing that's then also is used to machine the dies for the drop hammer. And so no matter what time we resync this, we're going to resync it back to the original dimensions. Well, the 8-pound got discontinued about 1.5 years, 2 years ago. And then the 6-pound was coming up for resync. And I see a lot of chatter online too, where people are like, "Well, I don't like swinging an 8 because it's too heavy," and then a 6-pound, you're like, "Well, the 6 isn't heavy enough." There's always a complainer, no matter which way you're going.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking, well, if we're gonna redo the 6, let's forget it and then let's split the difference, literally and figuratively, and let's do a 7-pound, but make it a whole new design. We're not making a larger 6 or a smaller 8. We're making a completely new splitting maul. And so it's got almost of a wedge shape, but there is still a high center line down the middle here. It's balanced front to back, so there's no blade drop, which means that when you're swinging, there's no flutter, I guess we'll call it. And the nice thing about it is on the back side, we actually tapered the poles slightly. And I started doing a pole splitting, I guess we'll call it, when I had a huge burr oak tree chunks that were dropped off my driveway by a buddy of mine. And they were probably cut to like 26 or 27 inches long in a cookie. And to be able to, and they were probably 34 inches across.
Yeah.
And there's no way I'm going to split that down the middle or find a check. So I basically had to peel layers around the outside and work my way in. And I actually got a splitting wedge involved. And I would take a 12 or a 16-pound straight peen rock hammer. And I would drive the wedge to split. But the wedge would bottom out and I couldn't get the wedge further down. So I would use the peen side to drive that wedge farther into the wood. And then I would use the peen to then open that crack up and split and open up completely. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't even using a splitting maul.
Yeah.
I was using a wedge and a straight peen. And that idea of using a straight peen to finish a split, I'm like, well, why don't we do that on a maul?
Yeah.
And that's good for when you've got either a longer round that you're not going to be able to get it to blow apart, or you're not going to be able to get the penetration with the blade side as far as you want it to. And so by flipping it over, you basically can finish that split by driving the pole. Now, granted, it's not every time, but once in a while you get strings and
it's just stuck where it's like this, and it's like you keep throwing the blade side in, and it just keeps not splitting. But you can flip this around.
Yeah, because I can get more further penetration further down by not having a blade in the way,
and more extreme.
And right. So that's. I hope that idea actually catches on with a lot of people, and but I don't think I've ever seen a splitting wall that was designed specifically to do that.
Yeah.
Now, granted, you can take a regular splitting wall and do it if you've got that crack open up where you can get the pole in there.
Yeah.
That's a perfect technique for busting open stuff that just doesn't want to let go.
Yeah. We've got so this is a sub $80 product on all USA made, 100%. Forged U.S. steel, made in America, hung in America, United States hickory, which is the only place hickory grows anyway.
Right.
But yeah, that's a lot of folks are like, man, I really wish stuff was made in America these days. It's like, this is a perfect example. Like, you may go to the hardware store and see a splitting maul there that's $50-$60.
Right.
That's made in Mexico or made in India.
Yep.
But this is for extra $20. You can get an all American made one that you can replace the handle on. This is a standard. Both the old number 7 comes with 2 different handles. So you've got the sledge eye, the round sledgehammer handle, and then you've got this axe eye that's straight. So it kind of leads you, depending on which one you get, kind of says how you can pick out replacement handles.
Right. And that's, I get a lot of guys asking me, which ones, you got a question, bud?
Yeah. Alexander Fenning wants to know, how good is the picaroon on frozen firewood?
Oh, we used it on frozen firewood today. Yeah, it's great.
We can actually jump to that right away.
Yeah, let's do it.
So, this picaroon is 1.5 pounds. So there's enough weight to actually get the tip to penetrate, but it's not so heavy where it's like you got to use 2 hands to swing it. And not always are you swinging it down, you're swinging it sideways, you're swinging it underhand, right? And this picaroon actually has basically 3 sides. It's got a top spine, and it's got 2 cutters or side angles, bevels, I guess we'll call it, that then turn into a cutter on the inside edge right there, okay? So that's actually kind of sharp. And that's designed to actually be used as an axe to do some light limbing. If you got a round that, like an ash tree or something, and fell on the ground and you bucked it, well, you weren't able to limb the branches that were under it.
Right.
And now you're
sticking off.
right, and now you start rolling those rounds around, and now you've got this little branch sticking out. You can actually go there and cleave it.
Yeah.
This pick on top, all you have to do is basically set this angle on however sharp or thin you want it. Right now it's set at around a 40, I think. And but if you wanted to get into, like, get a better penetration on stuff that's heavier, then you basically sharpen it to be more of a like a 30 or 35 or whatever. But this will work pretty well in most softwoods, just as is.
Yeah.
I do have one at home that I dialed in for the oak because I just wasn't getting the penetration to then get it to engage. Right.
And it's worth mentioning that most of the picaroons in the past have kind of had more of a hook to them, traditionally, or ones that have been mass produced.
A little tooth.
Yeah, a little tooth, and that sometimes makes it harder to get into frozen wood.
Right.
Or if you're just using a hookaroon, thinking it's a picaroon, that also is a struggle to make it work. Question?
Lily's Farm and Firewood donated $2 and says, old number 7 is awesome. What's coming out in 2025?
Ooh, the secrets.
I was going to say, we've been doing a lot of municipal fire tools. So we're working on a couple of those.
I saw a prototype this weekend that he didn't bring and we can't show, but it is cool.
Yeah.
It's not firewood based, but it could make firewood if you wanted to.
Yep. It's always fun to make a firewood with a fire tool.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's, and that nice thing about this picaroon, it's got a pole on the back, it's big enough. So what I'll do is I'll use it to drive bucking wedges. So this tool is to help me, move rounds, roll over a log that I can then back cut instead of me putting the chain in the dirt.
Yep.
You know, go so far and then roll it. So this is good for rolling, good for picking up rounds. But then I also use it to drive bucking wedges. I just stick it right in the tree and it follows me on down.
Yeah.
Especially on the bigger stuff. You know, once you get in, I got some big oaks that are 28, 30 inches diameter.
Yeah.
And they're laying on the ground and you can't tell where the tension is. They're on the ground.
Yeah.
But there's no daylight or nothing.
Yeah.
So as you start to get your blade, your chain in there, and it all of a sudden starts to bind, I can just stop where I'm at, pull out my bucking wedges, and then open up that curve
Yeah, so you're continue your cut.
to continue my cut.
Yeah, awesome.
So
Yeah.
We got two here. We got Greg Serious wants to know if there's gonna be a prototype boys mall.
boys,
Oh,
wow.
it's like a small splitting wall. That'd be cool.
That's a good idea.
The Snow and Neely makes one.
Yeah.
They make a small, like a 19 or 21 inch handle, something like that, which is a that would be a 3 pound, I think, that they make.
Yeah, I'd love to be able to do a 3.5 pound small boy's eye hand maul, but we've got so many other projects that are going on and so many other products we're trying to develop that would probably be further down the list. In fact, I even brought it up really to my team about it. Mm-hmm. I've got a bunch of designs that are kind of like archived, you know, in my head or on my computer that I pick from when we decide that we want to, you know, develop a tool or whatever.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Greg is thinking 4 pounds, 27 inch handle for that.
That's a
Yeah,
little on
the
the bigger
two-hander.
side. Yeah, that's a little bigger on the bigger side. I was thinking more like 20 and 3 pound or 20 and 2.5 pound.
Right.
Just like something to have next to the cook stove.
right, I would actually have him try this 5 pounder on the
He
28.
has that. He has
Okay.
that. Yeah. Well, I don't know if he has it on a 28. I know he's got a 30.
Yeah.
I think he's got a 36.
We do make a Dayton on a 28 and a 26, or a Jersey on a 26,
Jersey.
or regular, that's Miners Axe.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
And they obviously they're not designed to be a true splitting axe. Like this is a splitting axe.
Yeah, definitely.
So you can split with it, but it comes down to, you know, species, how big the round is it clear, seasoned, green, frozen, you know, does the operator have experience in that? So there's too many variables to say, well, that axe can do that.
Yeah.
It's just but oftentimes you can.
With this, you can say that this is a splitting axe.
Right.
This is made for splitting wood.
Right.
Yeah, it's not made for felling trees or anything.
Right. Now, granted, on this version, it's actually a faller's axe.
Yeah.
To drive felling wedges for directional felling for logging. But honestly, I like using it for splitting. And a lot of guys, well, it's not safe because it's short. Well, you can overcome that with technique. Yes, buddy, what do you got?
Alexander Fenning wants to know why not just make a splitting axe that has a pickaroon on the back.
Oh.
Here. This is Gabe of Gabe's Throw Files. Made this this is actually an axe that you and I pulled out of a bin over about 10 feet that way, and it was missing. It broken off, and we sent him the head, and he made it into a little pick head for me. Kind of a cool little piece.
Sure.
Yeah, you could. I mean, there's been hundreds of years of guys putting pickaroons on the backs of axes to roll logs around and all of that. So, but
our buddy Daryl has a good idea where he'll tap a 1/2 by 13 bolt hole and then screw in a hardened bolt and then sharpen the end of it.
Yeah.
And then he can take it in and out as he wants.
Yeah, it's got a locking nut basically that locks it in.
Yep. So I've seen that on a couple times.
Yeah, and I feel like that Daryl didn't necessarily come up with the idea. I feel like that's been a kind of traditional thing. He probably saw it somewhere and kind of you know, did his own spin on it.
Yeah.
It's a very cost-effective way to do it. You know, mass production of a axe with that on the back of it's like a little complicated.
Right. And that's the thing is that, you know, there's lots of good ideas, but you need, in order to develop that tool, I have to know that it's going to sell, you know, between $1,500 to $3,000 in the first year to pay for the cost of the dies. And so if it's a really cool idea and some guys will like it, that's great. But to go ahead and invest all that time and energy, and then for it not to sell across multiple markets,
yeah.
or it's like the axe junkies. I mean, axe junkies only make up about 10 to 12, 15% of the overall axe market.
Yeah.
Most people that are buying our tools
are not enthusiasts.
Are not enthusiasts.
Yeah,
they're just people that I need an axe for for this fall, or I need it for the camping trip, or I need it. And then
I need it as a gift for someone, and I don't know anything about axes, and I'm just here buying one for my uncle or something.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
And we run into that with the handles too. It's like a lot of folks are like, wow, this handle isn't exactly how I want it. And it's like, we're not marketing only to enthusiasts. We're also marketing to a guy who wants to restore an axe in his backyard, and he might not know exactly how to swing it. So, by no means are our handles thick, like baseball bats, but we can't make this narrow, thin handle with, and sell it to the general pop, because they're not going to understand that. We actually had issues with the 28 LUM, which you got. Was we shipped all of those out, I would say, in the matter of 3 days. We didn't have many, but all of the ones that we had, we shipped all within 3 days. So all of the reviews, all of the feedback, all the customer service emails about that specific handle came in kind of at one time. And there were quite a few guys that were like, this handle's too thin, I'm going to break it. I have no interest in restoring an axe using this handle. This is junk, like negative feedback, which was shocking me, since it's an exact to, we've like a 2,000th of an inch tolerance to the original Tatum handle from, the early 1900s. So that's how handles used to be. But you can't market that to a guy who knows nothing about axes, because if you do, he's going to show up and be like, wow, this is a stick, this is super thin. Obviously the axe enthusiasts who bought them, who knew about the lumberman pattern and that traditional shape, were super big into it. But the few guys that slipped through that just randomly bought it because they needed a 28-inch or wanted a 28-inch single bed handle, they were not happy. So there's a medium. You gotta try to keep as many people happy as you can, and you can't just be like, I am only going to target this one demographic. So that's how product sales is successful. We're not successful.
To coin off of that, this 5-pound splitting axe actually went through some of that. So our older version was a 5-pound felling axe pattern. It had a very long blade. It was thin. It wasn't balanced.
For chopping trees down.
Right. But the two markets that were using it were the loggers to drive wedges. So they were struggling because they were fighting the blade when they were swinging sideways to drive wedges. Or the guys trying to split firewood with it, but the blade was so long that it would lose all its momentum and not split. So the two main markets that were trying to buy it and trying to use it were struggling with it.
Yeah.
And our sales went down.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, let's make the 5-pound so that it can cross those two markets and give those two markets exactly what they're looking for.
Yeah.
So by balancing it, making the pole a little bigger, making the blade shorter, and then giving it more of a wedge pattern as opposed to a felling axe thinner pattern.
Yeah.
It
serves all markets, it serves multiple markets.
Right. And now just by putting it on a 28-inch handle for the loggers or a 36-inch for the firewood guys, it's two different axes using the same head just by changing out the handle.
Yeah, definitely. So that's a roundabout way of saying you can't please everybody.
Right.
And we can try as hard as we can as retailers or as manufacturers, but at the end of the day, you got to kind of just go with what
80%.
The biggest splash.
The middle 80, I think, is what we're trying to get, because the lower 10 possibly, they don't care or don't have the money for it or whatever. The top 10%,
they're going to modify it or make their own,
or they're going to buy the fanciest, the most expensive.
Yeah.
We want to try and focus on the professionals, the loggers, or the guys that are into firewood big time.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
And if they're happy with it, and we can get it past that sniff test, then your average homeowner, your enthusiast, the guys, when he picks it up, it's like, oh my gosh, look, this is...
Yeah, and also his logger buddy is like, this is great. So, you know, it continues to sell. Since we're going through the council tool stuff, we might as well just skip over to the
Sure.
Question. Rain Dance Bushcraft says, as more models come out, do some start to cannibalize sales from established models?
Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, and that happens with our handles. That happens with any product line. You're gonna have, as you grow your product line, you're going to see it be a new product be where it's serving a portion of a market that previous model was serving. So in the case of this 7-pound splitter, old number 7, it could be, I'm not saying it is, but it could be taking out away from the 5-pound on the 36, because those users might be using that 5-pound and love it, but they're like, wow, I want to try out the 7-pounder, and then they, you know, they're like, oh, I actually like this because it's, you know, whatever, or vice versa if they came out other ways. But you're always going to have that, you know. Our 32-inch curvy 32C right here, convenient, pushed out our 32-inch standard single bit handle, you know, which is, I don't actually have it. I don't think I have one sitting around. You know, why would you buy the standard 32 when there's this fancier version, you know, available for right around the same price? So,
but you're also then, we're trying to fill the market. The market sets the quality, the price, but doesn't always the availability. You know, but they're creating the demand for it. Yeah. If the demand is not there, you can't sell it. So you have to kind of chase what that demand is. So I think both you and I probably spend more time than we need to, or more time than our significant others want us to. But we are constantly trying to figure out what the next trend is going to be, what people are interested in. You know, what's going to sell well, where we can put invest our time, money into, so that we can get the best products that people are going to want in the future. Yeah, not just right now.
Yeah, kind of got a log in the back of our head is like, wow, I've gotten asked 6 times for this in the last month. Like, maybe this is something I should consider doing.
Patterns.
I saw that with the 32-inch handle. It was actually a perfect example. It was like, guys were like, wow, this could be better, you know. And I'm like, you know, it's probably time that we should release a 32-inch version of the heritage handle. So it's just, you get asked enough for stuff, and you talk enough to people at trade shows and that's the thing, when you're out and about at trade shows, there's going to be people who are super big enthusiasts, axe nerds, or vintage tool nerds, and then there's going to be the everyday person. So you get this variety of conversation, and kind of understand needs and all of that. So yeah, I'm just constantly tracking markets, and not only tool related. I mean, tool related just as one thing, you know.
I think the economy of obviously the last couple of years, I think, has skewed a lot of the responses that we would have been getting if the economy was better. If people were spending more money across more platforms, across more products, you would get some of that feedback on what's popular. And we're seeing the same thing with our products, is that, you know, the economy, we're down on axes, you know, a little bit because of the economy. But that's one of the reasons that we're focusing on the fire tools, is because the economy is causing people to want to burn wood.
Municipalities are growing.
And so we're chasing the firewood market that way. We basically have to figure out what sells, and fire tools.
I thought you were talking about But yeah, talking about firewood making tools or fire tools, or both.
Well, right now there's firewood.
Firewood making tools.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, the fire industry is a different aspect of that. But what I'm getting at is, if it was June of 21.
I was camping hatchets all day.
When it was when it was just hatchets. it was
this actually.
It was unbelievable.
Yeah, it was premium. You know, this is the 19-inch handled 2-pound pack axe. This was the first of their premium line that he designed back in 19. And
I'm sorry, 16.
Yeah. And you know, this is 170-ish in the pre-COVID, or actually during COVID, it was like 148, 152, somewhere in there. This thing sold like hotcakes. It doesn't sell like hotcakes anymore. This is a big decision to make. So guys are oftentimes turning to like, well, if I'm going to buy myself an axe, I'm going to buy myself an axe that I can save heating money with. So I'm going to I'm going to put my money into a $70 splitter.
Or sport utility.
Or sport utility hatchet.
More economical.
It's Flying Fox, similar in what you can do as far as tasks go. Not exactly the same, but yeah. So 2021 was just piles and piles of hatchets. Everyone's being like, "Hey, I'm going on a camping trip, next week. Can you get a hatchet to me in time?" And just people like really big into hatchets. And as of recently, we've been seeing more full size stuff. And handles the same way. We were selling piles and piles and piles of hatchet handles back in 2020, 2021, and then now we've been seeing a lot more into the full size market.
Right.
Cruisers were super popular pre-COVID. That was like cruiser phase. Everyone's nerding out about cruisers. When a cruiser hit eBay, it'd go $150, $200 for a head. And now we're seeing that tapering back on the market with cruisers. It's not an axe that you're going to go out and like heat your house with. So
how much of that has, or any specific market decline or rise during that or after, has any of that surprised you? Like which models of whether it be axes or handles that you didn't think there's going to be either a drop or that because of the economy, what's surprised you?
Well, I don't want this to sound pretentious, so don't take it this way. Nothing surprises me because everything is surprising.
Sure.
So for the last 4 years, take a guess. I feel like we might as well just throw the deck at the dealer at the casino and just let it fall out on the table, because that's basically what we're in and what we have been in for the last 4 years. So I'm just kind of going with what the market's telling me and hoping that goes right. Maybe not the answer that a manufacturer that we sell their products for wants to hear, but I know that with us as Whiskey River, we have been wanting to focus more on a target customer that is an audience that is focused on heating their house with wood and using these tools as something that can improve their life, not just being like, oh, I'm gonna go buy this $400 axe. I mean, and we still sell high-end axes, but I want to make sure that we are focused on not only just selling to the top of the top market. So, yeah.
Nathan Hutchinson wants to know, what's the best way to reshape the shaft to fit an eye?
Right here, Shinto rasp. They offer it in 3 sizes. This is the middle size. I think this is their 11-inch, or it might be metric actually, but this is their middle. The big one, which is like 16 or 14, way too big. Probably perfect for doing timber framing and paddle making and a bunch of stuff. And then the small one is great. It's probably about half this or maybe 2/3 of this. Great for doing fine carpentry work, and also putting it in a toolbox or something, or a backpack. But this is kind of your all-around rasp. I don't know if you use one of these often.
I do not. I have, but I don't use it. For me, it's a hoof rasp, a farrier's hoof rasp for getting the most material off, and then also for cleaning up some of those gouges from the aggressive side. Yeah. And then a large 4-in-1 or 4-in-hand.
4-in-hand,
yeah. So it's got a rasp. It's got a curved rasp and a flat rasp, and a curved file and a flat file on each end. Yeah. And I use that because I like to kind of get in there and shape the taper from the shoulder up into the eye. That curve in there, to me, I would struggle a little bit with a wide, flat Shinto rasp.
Which is just the difference in hanging style, because I knock that off. My shoulder on the sides is flat. I don't have this, gradual taper up into it. It's just continues all the way up the shaft into the handle. So,
Right.
Which makes it not that easy to take that handle out and put a different head on it if you ever want to. But yeah, this is what I use. Draw knives are great. An angle grinder is great. A belt sander is great. You can use a lot of different tools.
Yeah, flap disc on an angle grinder.
Yeah, flap disc on an angle grinder. It's worth mentioning. Axtober series on our YouTube channel. Go back and watch that if you haven't, because I hung 31 axes in 31 days, and there's a lot of different techniques that I used in that.
80 grit.
Yeah, 80 grit. Oh, this is 36
Right,
grit.
but 36 you can get away from it pretty quick.
Yeah, if you start with the Shinto, or if you start with an angle grinder with a flap disc, you should go 80 to 120 grit to start with, and then once you get comfortable with it, you can drop down. So.
Ruger Farming asks, do you guys have any PV or cant handles?
I stock them somewhat regularly. If you're looking for them, I sell them in 40 and 48 inch lengths, and they are hickory, and I think they're available on our web, or there's a listing on our website. Send me an email, customerservice@whiskeyrivertrading.com, and I can get you in a list, so that way when we get our next batch in, I can just order some in for you.
Are they ash or maple?
They're hickory. Yeah.
Oh, they're hickory.
Yep.
Oh, wow, good.
Yep. Thick baseball bat size. It's like 3 inch, 2.5, 3 3/4, something like that.
Archimedes says if you give me a fulcrum and a long enough lever, I can move the world.
Yeah, exactly. We max out at 48 inches. We don't go any further than that or larger than that. But I do think that there may be the availability of smaller, shorter ones. But 40 and 48 are the two that I typically carry. So, and we just get a dozen in every once in a while. They don't. It's not a handle that breaks often because it is so thick. If anything, the reason why they're replaced is because they rot out, or you just find the metal parts and you don't have the wood parts. So.
Right.
Yeah, definitely.
Or you're trying to bring one back.
Yeah. And you're like, I don't really want to use this handle because it's checked and it's a 100-year-old handle.
Yeah, but the steel parts, all the components are ready to go, and just I got a couple that I want to bring back. I got one that's on a short handle that I'd love to be able to get because for me it's like if I've got a limb that I'm bucking up that's only maybe 12 inches in diameter, but it's green and doesn't even know it's dead yet. It's heavy.
Yeah.
And I can probably roll it with a pickaroon, but having a short cant hook that doesn't take much energy to walk into the woods with, and I can just I can roll that over and get it in position.
Yeah. Cant hook's a great tool. It's one of those tools that is kind of underappreciated, and one of those tools that a lot of people don't share on the internet because it's just one of those tools that you just use. You don't need to show it off.
Right.
I've got a PV that Daryl Gruitt in Maine sent me, and then I put one of our handles in, and it comes out when it comes out. It's when I need it, I need it. When I don't need it, it leans against the wall in the shop, and that's just where it sits. So I don't have it hanging on the wall as a decoration. It's just moves heavy things, rolls them. So yeah. But as far as modern day ones, Logrite is pretty much
top of
line. They're building some really nice stuff.
Yeah, because they use aluminum tubing that's really strong and light.
Yeah. I wanted to show these handles off. I got this one. This is a Rugs Handle Company handle out of Oxford, Maine. This is going to be our next New England style handle that we're going to be releasing.
New England's line.
Yeah, I'm just going all New England style on handles. We've got the 28 NEC, which is 28 New England curved, and then we've got this new 28 LUM, and then this will be the 28 Rugs. Great handle. It's got an interesting palm swell. This is something that I think is purposefully done. Do you see that bump there?
Instagram's audio is not working. Do you want to go live again on Instagram or go on TikTok?
Go on TikTok.
Okay.
Feel that. It fits between your two middle knuckles.
Yeah.
That's something that I really definitely want to put into the new thing. I mean, this could completely be a factory second, and that they messed it up because there is almost like a knot or the grain structure there, but it does feel good, and we might as well. So I would say that's probably
or even just enhance it a little slightly.
Yeah.
And people can then file it or sand it down if it's bothering them. But normally that's your stationary hand. that's not moving around.
Oh yeah,
It's
yeah.
this one that's right.
Yeah, which is the reason why the 28 LUM is such a great handle is because, and which I don't even have one anywhere around me, is such a great handle is because it's for a lightweight head and your hand just stays at the bottom. Like people are like, wow, this doesn't have a palm swell, but you can like wrap your pinky around the bottom of it and you're just making these small, accurate swings. It's not made for swinging for the fences. It's just made for pulpwood in northern Maine.
I think it's a lot of them were used at mills for
Like
cleaning up
knots
the branches that weren't cut clean. You need to get that off so that it can run through the machine easier.
Which it is called a lumberman. So
right, I think
a lumber mill.
Right, I do think it was a lot of it was to take off dirty bark.
Yeah.
And so that it's nice and short, so you're accurate with it, and and it's a lighter head, so it's not gonna wear you out all day. I mean, it's a working man's. That's a working man's axe.
Cool. Yeah, and it's something. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's something that you can have around. It's not this massive axe.
And that's one of the reasons that it's so whippy.
Yeah, yeah. And again, you just don't have to swing it for the fences. It's just a tap.
It's not for splitting.
Yeah, definitely not.
It's for limbing.
Jay Rice wants to know, is Council Tool ever going to make a Woodsman Pal type hatchet? Would be awesome.
Woodsman's Pal type hatchet.
Yeah,
That's the.
It's like a bill hook.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. That's a good question. I'd love for us to be able to do something like that. It's probably not going to happen anytime soon, and part of that is because the economy is the way that it is. But I would definitely put it on a wish list. I've actually started designing some of that in the background, but it's not something that I brought to our team at this point. But I like to try and stay ahead of that stuff so that I've got it archived. So when we are ready to do something, we can talk about it. But so it's a good idea, and I agree that it's something that we could do. It's not something that is on our radar at this point.
Yeah.
But I love the feedback because I really need to know what people are thinking and looking for.
Definitely.
So.
Nathan Hutchinson wants to know, what hatchet handle would you recommend?
Which it's really going to be based on eye dimensions. This is something that I get asked a lot. Is like, hey, which handle do you recommend of your lineup? It's like we got to know a couple of details of that. So eye dimensions are first. Once you get your eye dimensions, which you could tell me right now if you've got the hatchet handle.
Small eye.
Small eye, yeah. I need actual dimensions. Measure from the bottom of the eye, front to back, and that's going to be the dimension that I need. And then once you have that, then
small,
super small, super small hatchets. 12-inch, we've got this 14-inch rigger's handle right here. That's an 1.25 eye, 1.25 by 3/4, and that is a carpenter's hatchet handle.
I'd ask, what are you going to use it for?
Yeah, and then once you get a list of the handles that you have, then the next question is that fit the eye. Then the next question is, what are you going to be using it for? Is it a camping hatchet? Is it a carpenter's hatchet? Is it,
right.
What are you
throwing?
Okay. So is it an axe gang? That's the question, because axe gangs have obnoxiously small eyes, like less than an inch at times,
And then too, it depends on are you throwing wattle, or are you throwing IATF?
Or are you throwing in the woods?
Or throwing in the woods? Is it, what's the distance that you're throwing at? What's your target?
Yeah, we don't really market many handles to the throwing axe community as much as we used to. The one could argue that our 24 SBA, or sorry, 20 SBA, which is a 20-inch
throwing at stumps.
Throwing at stumps. All right, yeah. So you're gonna want something that's like 16 inches in length to balance the head. Probably our 16-inch scout handle, which is the second one that you pulled out. 16-inch hatchet. There you go.
Yeah, on any axe head or hatchet head, figuring out what the weight is and then adding enough handle to it so that the center of mass is inside the handle, not inside the head, because it's going to rotate on that center of mass. So
this is
like here's a perfect example. So the center of mass on this one is an inch below the head. Okay, that means it's going to rotate like this. Okay, that means that when it comes around, it's only got a short window before it can hit the target. Whereas if the center of gravity or center of mass is below, then it's got a larger window for it to make contact, and you're not going to be hitting the handle. You're going to actually then stick it.
Yeah.
So you don't want a really short handle on a throwing hatchet. You want something long enough to then, like I said,
balance out the head.
Balance out the head.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So you can send me your eye dimensions if you are able to measure that to our email, and then I can help you find something specific. But that 16-inch Scout handle has got a larger hatchet eye. It's a 1 inch and 3/4 by 3/4, and it's going to be something that's going to fit your majority of hatchets.
And if it's a little bigger, it's not much material to take off. It's a hatchet.
Yeah, we make our stuff a little bit
Like
on the larger
size.
side. Yeah, exactly. So that's how that is.
Let's we'll talk about the flying fox.
Yeah, let's talk about the flying fox.
So there's 2 flying foxes there. Yep.
2 flying foxes.
Yeah. So so people that are familiar with this know exactly what it is. The ones that aren't, the flying fox is a flying fox woodsman hatchet that is just under 1.75 pounds. It's got just under a 4-inch bit. It's balanced. It has a hardened pole, so you can use it to drive nails and other tent stakes without damaging your axe. It has some vintage design aspects to it that were derived from very, very popular hatchets from the 50s. So there's the chamfered corners on the pole, like a Plum National.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a lot of the True Temper Tomahawk hatchet, Tommy styles. And then there's obviously a little bit of Hudson Bay thrown in there just to kind of blend it all together.
Yeah.
So.
And a little rafter and.
Yep.
It's got a
Well, that's what the national pattern.
Yeah, that's right.
The True National's got the
chamfered
corners.
Yeah.
And so that we came out with this in 2019. It was a woodsman hatchet that you can competitively throw with, as opposed to making a throwing axe and then asking the bushcrafters to take it to the woods.
Yeah, definitely.
I can only market that in one direction, really, and it worked out pretty well. It was one of our #1 sellers for many years in the sport utility line. It's still a really good axe. I like the shorter version for as a hammer or for kindling, because the closer your hand is to the head in relation, the more accurate you are with your kindling or your splitting, your strike placement. Now, if your target is the size of a nickel, a shorter handle, choking up on it is better.
Yeah.
But if your target is the size of an apple, like the cross section of a limb or a small tree, then by using a longer handle and 2 hands, now you can get a little bit more energy involved, and so basically it's the same. It's not the same axe,
but it's definitely the same.
It's the same head.
Yeah.
Redbeard wants to know if Council Tool will be making a Connie anytime soon.
It's another one that's on my wish list.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of guys that like the big Connies, and a lot of those guys like to use them for like an axe cord challenge. It's a bucking axe, but I'm gonna it's kind of rain on everybody's parade is that there's a number of people that struggle and are not comfortable with swinging 4 pounds for any length of time because they're just not used to it.
Yeah.
So we struggle to sell our larger or heavier heads, no matter what handle you put on it. It's just it's right now it's just not a struggle. So now, granted, there are enthusiasts, and I'd be one of them. I'd love to have a heavy, like a 4.5 pound Tassie / Connie.
Yeah.
But you know, how many people out there are going to buy it from us? You know?
It's true.
So if I did decide on a Connie, I'd probably want to go a little bit lighter and fill the gap below our Jersey, which is 3.5 pound, and our boys axe. So go like a 3.25 pound on a Connecticut would be my choice for, and put it like on a 28 or a 30-inch curved handle.
Gotcha.
And it would be a limbing and bucking axe. Okay. Now, granted, you probably could split with it, but if I do design one, it's not going to be a dedicated splitter. I mean, you can do your pine and your fir and whatever, maybe some of your smaller maple stuff, but it would be designed as a small smaller felling / bucking limbing axe.
Yeah, something that it's short 26-inch handle or
Right.
something like that.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
for sure.
Axeman wants to know if that's a racing axe.
What is?
The Hudson Bay.
Oh, this?
Or wait, were you guys talking about the Flying Fox? Sorry.
This is a throwing axe.
We were talking about, well, I mean, if you're talking about the 4.5
Oh,
pound
4.5
Connie,
pounds?
maybe,
Right.
maybe that's what
Right.
you're talking about. That would be, I mean,
Training-
racing axes,
training
yeah,
axe.
training axe, an axe that you could take out in the woods and not have to worry about it. The racing axes are not something that you're going to want to chop any wood that's not clear popple,
Right.
which is what they, run.
Right.
So.
Right. Yeah, we're not going to be doing any racing axes.
No.
The steel needed and the tolerances and the market is in very.
Yeah.
Really
There's
big.
a lot of guys who make.
Oh no, he wants to know if you guys are going to be making one.
Oh
No.
yeah, no.
No, sorry, buddy.
Yeah.
No.
There's a lot of really, really talented racing axe machinists, basically, guys
Yeah.
who machine racing
Yeah.
axes.
And I would fully support those guys,
Yeah.
and I'd push anybody to those.
It's almost weird to try to compete with them because they've been
Right.
doing it for so long.
We're gonna stay in our lane.
Yeah, definitely. And they're serving the market. The market's not super big with racing axes,
Right.
And they're able to take
And the
over.
Americans have really stepped up.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah, definitely.
Back to Nathan Hutchinson about his throwing axe or hatchet. He says 1.5 inch by 0.5 inch eye cutting blade, 2.5 or cutting blade 2.5 inches, 5.75 inches length with hex hammer, but a hatchet.
Oh, it's a half hatchet.
What should it be used for?
It is a half hatchet. What should it be used for? It's just a camp hatchet, really, unless you want to be putting in flooring.
Right. Well, traditionally it was used to put up cedar shingles either as siding or on a roof. That's what half hatchets were designed for. It's a carpenter's hatchet.
Yeah, definitely. So our 16-inch straight handle would be a good one for that. The 14-inch would be also good for that. So he already showed you that earlier, that 14-inch riggers or the 16-inch broad. Both of those are good options. The 16-inch broad is 1 7/8 inches, so you will have to take a decent amount off of that to make it work. But you're going to get the longer length if you're planning on throwing it. So yeah. But yeah, that's how that is. Here's the last of the council tool stuff. Well, I guess we haven't talked about the pack axe yet, but that's the Hudson Bay.
Yeah. So this Hudson Bay is a throwback for about 80 to 90 years. When L.L. Bean was getting them from
Snow and Neely.
Snow and Neely. Yeah, and it was a taller eye, and it was more wedge shaped. They were about 1.75 pounds back then. So we wanted to redesign our Hudson Bay, which had a shorter eye, and which means there's less connection with the handle, but it had a bigger blade on it, and that bigger blade was making a lot of people feel that it could do a lot of heavy work.
Yeah. And
so what they would do is they try to split with it, and they would get the blade stuck because it was a felling axe blade. It's basically a bucking and limbing axe as opposed to a splitting axe. And they get the blade stuck, and they crank up and down on this 28-inch handle, and they would loosen the head and eye connection.
Which has been a problem with all manufacturers.
The contemporary Hudson Bays from the late 60s on has been a problem.
Yeah.
And so basically we wanted to try and fix some of that and limit the failures, I guess we'll call it, on the tool. And so instead of us, having a, campaign where we're trying to teach people how to use the old one, we redesigned it for how they're trying to use it. And we haven't seen hardly any handles come back loose from being stuck.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's, in fact, if anything, it's more of a, drying out because of the temperate climate in Arizona
or just leaving
western side of Washington State or whatever.
Yeah, or getting left next to their wood stove.
Right.
Yeah.
So it makes a really good splitting axe. Now, when I say splitting axe, it's not always split once and go all the way through.
Yeah.
It's you may have to work your way through, or get it stuck, and then flip it over, and then use the weight of that wood to then drive onto the blade onto your stump.
Yeah, which we recorded a video of doing that today. I'll try to put out some more content myself. That'll come out in the next.
So
couple weeks.
not all splitters, doesn't matter how big it is, are designed and expected to split on the first and only strike.
Right.
Sometimes you have to work it.
It's not TikTok.
It's not a laser.
It's not TikTok.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
And I feel like that's just like something that it makes for good editing on TikTok. It makes for fast videos and a lot of stuff going on, or on any social media platform. Right. But the reality of getting in the woods and actually splitting wood is like you're gonna have multiple swings. Yeah. Right. You're not gonna blast through every piece in one swing. So that's just how it is.
So with this one, this is the 24-inch, and I like this because I get a really good swing at it. So I'm generating enough energy, but at the same time, my accuracy is increased because my hands are closer than if it was on a 28. Even at one hand grip closer to the head, to me it increases my efficiency because I'm getting my strike places on target.
Yeah,
I'm not wasting extra energy by missing where I'm trying to strike. So. Yeah, I'm a big fan. I actually carry one of these on my belt when I'm splitting wood and when I'm using my saw. So.
Yeah, it's a great companion. The pack axe is the last of the council tool stuff on the table.
Sure. So the pack axe, it's got a lot of stuff going on. It is a premium product.
First off, it's the first of the premium line that he designed.
Sure.
In Council's lineup.
This is the axe that Council and I started working together.
Yeah.
I started out as a contract designer, basically working off of royalties from the sales to the dealers.
Yeah.
So that's how I was getting paid for my designs.
Yeah.
So basically the original one was a boy's axe that I modified, and that's where the Rooster mod comes from. Is I used to modify axes and handles and tools and whatever.
Yeah, tinker with them. Yeah.
Right, to make it how I needed them to perform.
Yeah. And
so that original modification of a boy's axe then became this design as a production. So it's 5160 carbon steel, which has got chromium in it, and that kind of makes it durable. It's a spring steel. And then it's got a hardened bit. You can see the little rainbow color there. That shows how far back it's hardened. It's got a 25-degree flat grind. It's got a 90-degree spine, so you can scrape a ferro rod and throw sparks, start a fire. It's got a hardened pole, so you can use it like a hammer to drive bright spikes, nails. I use it to release the frozen hitch on the truck when it was frozen up.
Hung proud.
Yep, hung proud with a wood wedge and a safety wedge. You can choke up on it so I can get behind it. Now I can feather stick, or I can shave. You can do some carving with it. This is the 19-inch version. So you can swing it one-handed or two if you need to. This shorter version was part of an idea to make them short enough so that you can put inside of a bedroll to protect it while you're backpacking or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then it's obviously small enough to fit inside of the pack or strap it to the outside of the pack. And the overall weight is, I don't know, just under 3 pounds.
Yeah.
So for the guys that are like really, anal about how much weight they're carrying with them, mm-hmm. Pound for pound, this 2-pounder can do a lot that even a bigger axe on a longer handle can't.
Yeah, definitely. And I camped in 2018 over 200 nights with a 19-inch pack axe with a leather carrier. Van camped, not like hiking, but doing trade shows and stuff. I'm basically living out of a work van, and that axe did everything that I needed to do. I could cook with it. I could use it kind of like almost like an ulu or a cleaver, and be able to cut meat, cut vegetables. Yeah, it's like just a camp tool. So and then also get kindling. I was doing a lot of public land camping and such, so I was able to get the deadfall that's on the ground and process it up to make campfires and cook over it. So it's a great tool.
Terry wants an example of your grain.
Of my what?
Grain on the handles.
Oh, grain on the handles for any handle. I got like 1,000 handles behind me. Oh, let's see. Which 30C is probably the best. This is a B grade. So this is the bottom of the. That's our lowest grade right there, B grade. That's got a little run out in it, and that's the reason why it's been B grade. Here's an A grade. Right here. But vertical grain orientation on a A grade, and minimal to no run out. And then the B grade is you're gonna have grain orientation is gonna be off a little bit, and also you will have a little bit of run out. So. Yeah.
Barefoot Axe Grinder wants to know, what do you recommend for finishing the cutting edge?
A file to start with, and then if you're talking about vintage axes, one thing that's very important that I like to drive home is like if there's a factory edge on an axe and it's performing how it is, it was performing how it was, and it's just dull because you've been using it. Just match that factory grind that you already have with a sharpening stone. Mm-hmm. Go at it with a sharpening stone, a puck. We sell those on the website. Just match what was there. If it's what was working, then just keep that. But if we're talking about vintage heads, things
or bringing it back,
or bringing back.
I mean, they use a file to set the bevel, and then you can use a stone to sharpen. So it's set the bevel, sharpen, and hone. Those are the three categories of sharpening.
Yeah, definitely.
So setting the bevel with the file. Now, granted, you can get an edge, a working edge with a file, and work all day with it, no problem.
Yeah.
And that's all you need. If you wanted to dress it up and clean it up, then a puck will take those scratches out and then redefine the apex of those two bevels coming together, so it's not like a sawtooth underneath the microscope.
Yeah.
And then after you use a puck, if you really want to take it further, then I'd recommend using a strop.
Yeah, a leather strop.
Right. And then you can stop and start wherever you need to, depending on the application for that axe. Now, if it's like a pack axe, mm-hmm. I would stone and I would strop, with that flat grind, because that puck is flat and it's going to match that flat grind really well.
Yeah.
But this axe, you're going to ask this axe to do a whole lot more fine work than you're going to ask this axe, which is basically, it's a hand splitter.
Yeah.
So even though they're similar in weight and similar in looks, they act completely different.
Yeah, the grind is different.
Right.
Like, your grind should be different. Yeah.
Right. So I'm not sure if that answers the question, but there's set the bevel, sharpen, and hone.
Yeah, definitely. The next handle on here that I've got is this handle I just got recently out of West Paris, Maine, a handle company out of there. Something Wood and Sons. Can't read it. I actually know it. It's just it's just not coming out of my mouth. But anyway, this is what I think is a pickeroon handle. Mm-hmm. It's not coming out of your hands with this shape of this bell. Yeah, one-handed pickeroon handle. So the eye dimensions are it's a 2 1/8 this way. So I'm just assuming.
So if I like it to look at vintage tools and look at it from if I was going to use this, how would I use it in 1880, 1920 or whatever? And when on sawmills, they have a conveyor that takes the lumber away as the saw drops that outside piece, and it converts it away so that the workers don't have to be up by the saw. Well, as it comes by, they need to start sorting it. And so having something that is accurate enough, I can get it in and then pull it off that conveyor or tip it.
Yep.
That's what I think this is for. It's for a small, accurate pickeroon for sorting lumber or pulling slash, the slabs that come off. They, just gonna be firewood. Yeah. Right. That's what I think that's for.
Yeah. I mean, would make a great hatchet handle. Right. Or a boy's axe handle, for basically a house axe. Mm-hmm. So I'm hoping that we can bring this one back. This is something I just picked up. It just came into our our place.
How does that compare to your the eye on a boys X? You have a.
I have that pack, 24 pack is a boys. This eye's short. This eye's a little smaller than what we run. Yeah, it's about.
So are you going? So my question.
So I would have to go bigger on.
Right. So my question is, are you going to make the eye for boys so that they can shape it down to anything they want?
Yeah.
No? Okay.
Yeah.
Because,
that'd be just a touch over 2 1/4 at the shoulder,
right.
and then and it would not be tapered like this. I actually think that this is modified, judging by their tooling marks.
Yep.
Their tooling marks aren't centered on that. It's safe to say that this was either modified in the factory afterwards to just be tapered to maybe fit a specific tool, or this has probably been owned by multiple people over the years. So,
right.
Also the grain is going completely opposite direction, sideways. So, put that in your pipe and smoke it.
Right. So, if you do make it a boy's eye, what I would want to try and do is I would take a old boy's axe head and modify it into a picaroon, so that I still have a relatively tall eye.
Yeah.
And just shape it so that I can utilize the eye dimension off a boy's eye, and the more meat you have in there, the more durable that tool is going to be.
Right.
And I'm excited.
I was planning on just taking a council tool picaroon off of the factory handle and putting it on this for myself.
Well, this is and that's the thing is this is a full size eye.
That is a full size eye. Yeah, that's right.
These are all full size eyes, which means that you can get any full size 36-inch curved, 36-inch straight, or 28-inch straight faller's handle to fit.
At your local hardware store.
Right, and then we do that because these are going to get stepped on, run over, lost in the woods. So we want to try and get a comfortable grip, but this is a little more delicate and more refined.
I mean, I can put a full size eye on this too. I don't know. I'm open to comments. Drop a comment and let me know, because I mean, add another 1/4 inch to the shoulder and you get a full size.
I'd vote boys.
Yeah, it feels good like this. I really want to hang a head on this, but I can't because I need it.
Or if you ended up finding a boys pick head fire axe, this would be a cool display. Carrier. Well, even as a display, like a wall hanger. Honestly, if you found a really nice vintage
school bus axe,
a boys axe pick head, that would make an awesome trophy or an award for a firefighter that was retiring.
Definitely. I forgot to mention, Dalton is probably tuned into this, and being our marketing guy is probably like, why haven't you mentioned this? But BFCM24 gets you 15% off on the website, okay? Until the end of the day, Cyber Monday. So
and good ranchers.
What?
Good ranchers.
Yeah. And so it gets you 15% off, and you get, we're doing these deals of the day, and not every day, but we are doing random deals to our text message subscribers, which is super fun. The text message subscribers have been really enjoying the special offerings we're sending their way.
And it's just a text.
Yeah, we just mark down a product, and then and then you can use that code on top of it, and you just get a crazy good deal. It's always just like I've been just being like, he and I go back and forth in our sales meeting every week, and it's like I'm like, go more. Give them more of a discount on that. It's like we've got them on the shelf. I want to get them in people's hands, so we're just doing it on products that I want to see you guys enjoy. And I know that some of these products are kind of a little bit on the pricier side, so it's like it just gives you an opportunity if you're on the fence about it and you're like, man, that's kind of expensive. You can, for a couple days, it's a deal. So, so yeah, we've got that, and then we're giving away a chainsaw. I don't have it here. It's a Husky 359 that was ported and gone through, and it's got a muffler mod that Appalachian Saw and Repair did for us. So we're giving that away. Someone who orders.
She barks.
Yeah, it's loud. One of the people who orders between last Thursday and end of day Monday through this whole sale is going to get it tossed into their order. So it's super cool. We'll be announcing that on Wednesday, as long as the person who wins it is comfortable with us announcing. Sometimes they get a little,
First name, first initial.
Yeah, first initial, last name. Exactly. So yeah, so we're giving that away, and then Black Friday, you know, is coming up here very soon. So make sure that you guys are staying tuned to our socials and staying tuned to our email newsletter and text messages, because we will have a we're gonna be doing special offers that day as well. So we got special stuff running all through the week, and any support is appreciated.
Yep.
Yeah, this is a product that I have gotten flack for the retail price of, but these are not cheap to build, and they are very nicely built. So this would be a product that if you were looking for 15% off on, this actually becomes a relatively affordable product. This is an axe bell that you can store axes in, full-sized axes on the bottom, more of a hatchet on the top, but this is poplar. Yeah, you can see here.
Load up the
bell.
Loading
it up.
Sure.
So this is a product that makes what made me happy about this product was that I got an email from a guy, and he was like, "Thank you so much for coming out with this, because I have a pile of axes next to the door of my house that I've been wanting to display, but my wife really wants them not in the house."
Right.
And this gives me a reason for me to be like, stain this and make it kind of into a piece of furniture that can be on display.
Look at you, saving marriages.
Yeah, exactly. So this is made out of poplar, and we do have white oak. We don't have them in here. White oak. We have walnut, and we also have curly maple. So those are a little bit more cost, obviously, because the materials and all that. But yeah, they're all machined and then put together by hand. So kind of a cool throwback on a piece that was originally really only available for general stores and hardware stores. This was a display rack for retail locations, not a piece that could be in some.
It was an end cap.
Or display at the checkout. Yeah,
right.
And so not that many original examples exist, and the ones that do exist are $1,000 when they get hit eBay. And I wanted one for myself. I had a buddy who was interested in making them, or making one, and I was like, well, let's see if we can make more, because if I want one for our place, I might as well try to make some for other people. So I take it to Blade Show. Yeah,
I take it to Blade Show.
Yeah, it's great for this.
I keep it in my office, so I keep acses that I'm actively trying to study and referencing for drawings and such. So
yeah. So great little display piece, and you can stain it. It holds stain. They come raw, just like this, and so it's pretty easy. Put some stain in a spray bottle and spray it down and wipe it down.
Sit in the sun, and she starts
milk paint,
a little UV going.
UV light, yeah. So that's something that's on the website. That a gift idea, if you will. So we got any more questions? Let's open it up for questions. We'll do a few more questions, and then we'll call it.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So.
And then too, you may want to give your contact stuff. How do they reach you?
Oh yeah.
How do they reach the company?
Yeah.
We can do that now.
Yeah. Why not? Customer service at whiskeyrivertrading.com. Otherwise, you can DM us on Instagram. You can DM us on TikTok, and you can check out the content that we have on Facebook, and you can check out the content we have on YouTube. Those two we were not able to take messages on, but yeah, you can message us over there. Our website is whiskeyrivertrading.com, and our auction website is bid.whiskeyrivertrading.com. That's that actually, speaking of Black Friday, we have a exotic handle auction, 100 handles that are all ending. They're like Purple Heart and Osage and Curly Maple and Curly Oak and Black Limba and Sapel, bunch of Curly Walnut, bunch of different options, and there are popular models that you guys like, and we just made them out of random species, and we're auctioning them off on the auction site. So
can you see them without actually joining the auction?
Yeah, you can see them without joining the auction. You just head to bid.whiskeyrivertrading.com. You can check it out there off browser. There is an app available you can download if you get registered to bid. You can download that app. That's for Apple or Android, and it's super easy to use, and it makes bidding a lot easier and able to track the bids. So you can enter a max bid just like you would on eBay. It's pretty simple. We make it super easy, and you know, I always say it's like walking into an auction where there's not that many people at it. You're gonna get deals, and you know, on eBay you're up against millions and millions and millions of users, daily users. So we kind of have like a axe/vintage tool centric auction site with only a handful of bidders really in it that get registered. So yeah.
Couple questions. Are you on X or Twitter?
I'm not. No, I'm on Threads, but that's just because you naturally are on Threads with the you know, Instagram, Facebook thing. So I'm not on X. I have a heavy push that I'm leading in the company to be involved in more video content when it comes to TikTok and YouTube and Reels, I guess, on Facebook. So we're kind of trying to focus on those apps right now.
Another one is there any acts that you would like to study for reference, like right now, or that you are studying?
Well, I always like looking at Connie's. The reason being is that they come in all. I mean, even though they're iconic in their overall profile, there's a lot of differences. There's a lot of differences between the vintage makers.
Yeah.
And I just like understanding and learning about the balance, the overall geometry of the blade,
and the pole. The pole's vary.
Yeah. Because the eye is tall, which means the pole gets heavy. The taller the eye, the heavier the pole, and that's how a Connie actually balances itself. Even though it's got a very narrow pole, it's got a long pole, and that's basically how that tool balances itself. If it was just like a cedar, you know, a cedar is hard to balance because there's so much blade on it, and it's got a short eye. But yeah, I always like looking at Connies. I've got a couple of my own. I actually have a Winchester that I think was made by Man.
Yeah.
That I like a lot, and that's a 3 1/4.
I've been not so referencing axe heads or axes, but referencing handles. I don't know, for 6 years now, and as of recently, I've been into these new old stock handles. Basically, stuff that is pre-war and maybe not mass produced, but out of the independent handle shops that were all over the country. Those are handles that I would like to reference and take measurements for. What I am looking for currently is a new old stock example of an octagonal handle. It has to be straight, it can't be bowed, and it...
How long?
And I would like to have 30 to 36 inches. I'd like it to be full-sized. So we're looking for examples of that. I've got one that I have, but I don't want it to make it. I don't want that to become the golden rule because I don't have too many examples to compare it to. So, as we grow our handle line, we're trying to grow the octagonal options in our handle line. So we will be looking for those. So if anybody has a new old stock octagonal handle that you can sell me, or I'd take it on loan and make it worth your time, you can email me, customerservice@whiskeyrivertrade.com.
Right.
It's a good one.
The other axe head that I like looking at examples are the larger Western pattern double bits. To me, those are the workhorses. They're not the Pugets, but they're also not the Michigans. They're more of a Wisconsin, I think, inspired. So, but the Western, they make good splitting axes because they're long enough and they're heavy enough that you can get that flick to snap really well on that. Right. So a 4-pounder Western, I think, is, I've got a couple, but I'd like to see some more examples of that.
Are you guys going to do shirts?
Oh man, so I should probably start again. We had a terrible time doing shirts during COVID. So something that's very important to us at Whiskey River is that we, if there is USA made material available, that is the material that we use to make the thing, right? So it's super easy to get random t-shirts printed, right? But
Bangladesh.
Yeah, from Bangladesh or wherever. The issue is, or the issue we were up against in 2022, 2023 was American made. American Apparel is the brand. They were back ordered, and when our local print shop basically was like, listen, we can't get these, we went to a third party, and then that third party, as soon as they would drop American Apparel to their print on demand program, they'd sell out within like 30 minutes because all of these retailers are trying to use those shirts. They're super high quality and all that. So maybe that's solved. I kind of gave up because it was like a 6-month, slug of trying to figure out how to get shirts made with American made material. So we'll see. I've got a couple of shirt designs that we've been working on that would probably be really great on shirts. So stay tuned.
How about a 3.5-pound version of the faller/splitting axe?
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, that would
That'd be really cool.
Yeah, on the same size handles.
So we do make a 3.5-pound Dayton. That is technically more of a felling axe, or all-around utility axe for us. If we were to change that one into a splitter, I'm afraid that we're gonna lose the utility as a chopper.
Yeah.
Or as
Felling. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where do I make another axe, and then you run into, okay, well, who's gonna buy it in what volume? It's a gamble.
It's hard to say.
But no, I definitely like that idea. I wish that we could make a smaller version of a lot of the popular. I mean, an old number 7 and call it an old number 3 and make it a 3-pound, the same geometries, and I think or 3.5, and I think we're off the races. But like I said, it's you need to make sure the market's there before you invest all that time and money in tooling.
Definitely.
Has council ever considered making a Connie pattern?
Ooh, we just talked about that. So you weren't in here for the early part. You're gonna have to watch back.
Yep.
You're gonna have to watch back. We'll publish this video in the next couple days, and you can watch it back.
Short answer: we're not. It's not on our list right now.
Yeah, has considered, not on the list right now, but it would be cool. Anybody else? Awkward. Yeah. So let's take 3 more questions, and then we're gonna be calling it. You want to tell people where to find you on
Sure.
socials? And all that?
My email for council is rooster@counciltool.com, and I manage the most of the social media. So Facebook is Council Tool, Instagram is council_tool, and
YouTube.
We're building up our YouTube, but I try not to. So it's Council USA, Council Tool Company USA is our new YouTube thing. But I prefer if you just email me if you're going to talk about stuff, because it's too easy to lose the conversation
In the comments.
in the comments section, or even in the chat
DMs
of the DMs and Instagram. It's just
And then Rooster Mod on Instagram.
Rooster Mod on Instagram is my personal one.
Yeah.
How about a 36C for the Heritage line?
Yeah, it's coming. It's coming. I would say, so I made a pattern, wasn't happy with it, need some tweaking. I needed to kind of start over and just use it as inspiration. It's not something that I'm proud of at all. But I learned a lot about how to make that shape work. I've got Eli Arnold is about to send me a curvy new old stock 36-inch handle that will be kind of like, there's aspects of the pattern that I made that I really liked. Yeah, and then there's this. I'm kind of just gonna meld them together, and we should have a 36C sometime in 2025.
Being from a timber sports background, I have found balance of the head and handle has more effect than the weight. What's your opinion?
Definitely.
Sure. Yeah. I
we
mean,
mentioned it a couple times.
Yeah. It comes down to application of the axe. How are you using it? Let's use the boy's axe for example. So the boy's axe traditionally is a 2¼ pound on a 28-inch handle, and it's technically a small felling axe, but can be used for a lot of different purposes: bucking, limbing, splitting some stuff. So once you use that same head and drop it on a 19-inch handle, now it becomes a house axe. You're not dropping trees, you're not probably limbing with it, you're splitting up kindling, you're processing probably dry stuff at that point. So that same head, if you found the balance point on a house axe, it's probably going to be just under the eye, if not inside the eye.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're doing that on a 28, the center is going to be about 1.5 inches to 2 inches below the eye.
Yeah.
Or below the head. So it all comes down to the application of that tool to determine on what the best balance is for that head.
Yeah.
How about a 30-inch New England handle?
Yeah, I've got a 32, 28, basically a 32-inch version of the 28 NEC coming out very soon. I would say first few months of 2025. It's not going to fit into December, but it will be first few months of 2025. We should have a 32-inch version. The pattern's done. It's on the tail end. I don't have a physical example here to show you, but that'll be available on the website.
So, one that's similar, just different lengths?
No.
Okay.
Well, just I guess I got the 28.
Show them what they're...
I got 28 NEC.
Pause for station identification.
Yeah. Oh, actually, I'll just grab one of these. So this is an Osage one that we're running in the auction site right now, but this is the New England style kind of palm swell and straight offset neck through that.
It's like a horse hoof.
Yeah.
That's what that looks like. It's like a horse hoof.
Yeah, it's not a fawn's foot, it's a horse hoof. So this, but in a 32-inch version, so a little 4 inches longer. You know, you're going to lose half inch off of it, so you probably measure out around 31 when you hang it. Also bid on our auction for these. Squeeze through here.
Greg says thank you for taking the time to do the live Q&A.
Yeah, is it Greg serious?
Yeah.
Yeah. You rock, Greg. Thanks for
There are
letting
a
me.
lot of good things about Greg.
Yeah,
Good job.
thanks for letting me sleep in your yard last month. So, yeah, I think that's it. We're good on questions. So, we're gonna
Do this again sometime.
Yeah, we'll do this again sometime, and you guys can stick around and come back. I appreciate everybody tuning in. Thanks for the questions.
I wonder, would this be popular enough if we did this like maybe once every
a month
quarter?
or something?
Right,
Or
and then
once-
we do,
yeah.
and we do like stream it,
Yeah.
from both sections and kind of do a chat thing.
Yeah.
I don't know how that would work, but
Yeah.
get
We
young
can-
kids on it.
Yeah, we can put the technical guys on it.
Hey Rooster, is there a cruiser coming?
I wish.
Yeah.
I wish.
That's
So
another
here's
hard
the
ask.
thing. The saddle axe just recently got discontinued. Our friends Stuart Hughes did a video on how much he liked the saddle axe, and all the remaining saddle axes that were available on 2 of our dealer sites went in 3 days.
Yeah.
So that axe actually has a cruiser eye.
Yeah.
So 2 pounds on a cruiser eye, so that you can find replacement handles in the future if you do have one of those heads.
Yeah.
I'm going to blame the economy right now on a lot of our inability to expand in traditional directions when it comes to bringing back older patterns. The demand just isn't there for us to invest the kind of money needed for tooling to make these on our equipment.
Yeah.
I wish, if money was no object and we didn't mind only selling, maybe 500 in a year, then I would say, yeah, let's bring back a whole bunch of different patterns, including a cedar. I'd love to bring back a cedar and have it hung on a 28C for you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's a great axe. And the cedar was something that council did.
Yep,
at
we
one
did.
point,
We did
yeah.
make one. And that was a 3-pounder. So, yep.
One other question. This is the last one. This is the last question.
All right. When are you guys going to come out with an embossed axe like some of the vintage ones?
Oh man.
Okay,
Let's
so
just keep it we can keep that a secret. Whiskey River. This isn't a council thing. Don't email council, but
all right. Well, I'll answer the council side.
okay.
I'll answer the council side.
Okay.
So, the amount of time and resources and money to go through the process to actually etch, because embossing is actually an etching process. The EPA doesn't like open containers of
acid.
And you have to have all this safety stuff in place for your employees and ventilation, and the amount of people that would then purchase those axes, I don't think right now the market is high enough to make that a go. If it was the other way around and the demand for it was so high that we'd be kicking ourselves for not doing it, maybe then we'd probably try to invest. But right now, it's difficult to replicate the old ways because we're selling a fraction of what the old companies, like there's
I mean,
there were a lot of different companies,
axes,
and now there's only a handful.
Yeah,
so,
definitely.
Yeah,
embossed axes are cool. The price that you got to charge for them is on the higher side, and obviously is not. You can't drop a $500-600 axe in this economy, and I can't as a retailer and sleep good at night when it comes to a large scale. Right. There's options to do 10, 20 of a special run. That's just a tease of possibly what's.
And I think the real reason for the embossing was that all these companies were trying to compete with each other. Yeah. And they didn't. And they wanted a way to make sure that when you saw one of their heads, it was obviously a man, or it was obviously a true temper, or whatever. A black raven.
Yeah, it's a Denali. When you drive by a Denali on the interstate, you know it's a Denali. If you drive past a Platinum or a limited Ford, you know it's a limited. It's just how it is. So.
Right. I think it's because of the competition. That's why they embossed it.
Yeah, definitely. So it'd be really cool. It'd be a really cool project.
Lots of great ideas. A lot of good inspiration.
Yeah, for sure. So I think we're ready.
Good.
Back it up.
Sounds good. Let's go home.
Yeah.
See you.
Ya. Thanks, guys.
Sure, guys.